Hey guys, how are we doing? There are, says two, but I think I'm one of them. So it means I've got one nice viewer who's here to keep me company. Maybe it'll just be us two. Um, yeah, how are we doing? I know it'll take a wee while for it to, the notification to go out, so we'll just hold fire. I'll normally wait until 5 minutes after the hour anyway before we start. Hey Deanne, hey Kristen, how you guys doing? You's all right? Are we all glad that it's nearly the end of the week? Are we all having a good week so far? I am very glad it's Thursday. Um, I do I have anything planned this weekend? Yeah, so me and Justin are going live on Sunday on his channel at 9 p.m. my time, I believe, 4 p.m. his time. Pretty sure that's right. Um, and we're going to be talking about like sequences in the majors basically. So for example, we all know about the three septenaries, the groups of seven. A lot of us look at it and split it into groups of two, the first, 1 through 10, and then 11 through 20, and then the full and the world sit on either side, that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that very much. Just because I do love any opportunity really to geek out about tarot, but in particular, I'm looking forward to chatting to Justin about it because I know he's got lots of kind of cool ideas that are going to be different from stuff that I, necessarily know. So that should be good. Hi Brian, how you doing? Um, who else have I got? That was just Kristen, Deanne, and Brian so far, I think. Um, Kristen has got a 4-day weekend after tomorrow. Well, that's excellent. What are you off Monday, Tuesday for? Thank you, Deanne. Um, let's see, Brian, finishing up work, hope to join in. I finally got the Mary and haven't even cracked the box open yet. Fair enough. No, I'm glad you're here. And must be nice to be finishing up work. Um, I was quite glad to finish today. I was in the office today, but I had a conference that started at 4 and didn't finish until 5:30. So I was quite pleased to when I when I finished and I got to go home. Uh, let's see. Oh, Independence Day, right enough. Of course, 4th of July. That was a bit of a silly question, wasn't it? Uh, but yeah, I hope that everybody's doing okay. Maybe it's just going to be the four of us today. Who knows? It might be quite a small crowd. That wouldn't particularly bother me if it was. But it just means that the pressure's on you guys to all join in. So Brian, you get finishing that work, get signed off that laptop, or do whatever it is that you need to do to finish up. Um, yeah. Okay. I should probably start thinking about sharing the screen and all that kind of thing, shouldn't I? I wonder what actually let's experiment here. See if cinema layout, screen layout. What does this do? That's still just showing me. Hmm. Oh, duh. Share screen. And then I get to pick what one. So if I do this instead of what I normally do, what does this look like? Right, okay. So we still get me down the side. Um, but it doesn't take the whole, but then I think I can change that, can't I? I can do it like that. So that's essentially just the same. And then what happens when I highlight comments? Does it still just does the same thing? It just goes over the top of it. Okay. Um, let's see. So Deanne says VIP club in here. Kristen says only the important people have come. Well, quite. And Diane says, going to drop you all off in the tarot room. Be right back. Okay. Yeah, well, let's just do this 'cause I don't think this makes any difference. So we've got the usual stuff for the elements. I won't speak through them because I mean this will be the sixth time I'll be talking about these, and I think you guys have all been here before, so you can see in the book what Mary White attributes to the elements, the meanings and stuff. Um, this month we're looking at the sixes. So we've got the lovers, which is union, love, marriage, sex, integration, to alloy or combine or join. Marriage of opposites, the person that you choose to be your partner, to unite or to make a commitment to something, someone or a decision in your life, a moral choice or temptation. And then we've got the tower, which is ruin and destruction of old patterns, structures, and conventions. Tear down, burn away what is no longer needed, revealing core values, major shift in energy, sudden dramatic, shocking, and major change. The tower might feel like a wee bit of a weird one to be with the sixes, which is all about harmony and that kind of a thing. But if you think about what's happening in the tower, we're kind of we're taking stuff away, we're burning that shit down, or you know, in the Marielle, the lightning I think is actually being released from the tower rather than striking the tower. And it's that negative energy that's built up that's then being released. So you're letting go of that negative energy to leave the kind of to create the harmony. And obviously, so in the lovers, we're gaining something to create harmony. In the tower, we're losing something to create that harmony. So from that point of view, that's how I would make sense of it. Um, for the Six of Wands, uh, we have got, I don't know why this comment's kind of a highlighted. Oh, that's it. Six of Wands, we've got the Archangel Michael. So you'll have noticed that it's all archangels, and we'll talk a wee bit about why that might be later on. So Michael means who is like God. Uh, he's the patron saint of soldiers and warriors, the commander of God's army that leads them in the final battle against Satan. So Michael represents the light part of our soul, if you want to call it that. The good part, the part of it that wants to, do good and overcome darkness. Our higher self or our genius. Um, Michael holds his weapon, which is the flaming spear. And he uses that to slay the dragon, and we see the slain dragon in his arms, in his hands. Um, it's likened to the spear is likened to the lion in the Five of Wands, which is blazing a trail through the dense forest, just like the spear pierces the kind of a hole through the dragon. We've got the dragon itself, which represents Satan or evil, darkness, whatever it is that's opposing you, whether that's something that's external or internal. Darkness and ignorance within ourselves, our lower self, our subconscious, our base self. Uh, Michael's wings, so he's got these kind of a dark wings here that almost look like mountain peaks. So there's not really any indication as to why this is, but the mountain in Lenormand, we look at it as like an obstacle that needs to be overcome, some sort of great task that needs to be, undergone. Um, so the battle with the dragon is the Five of Wands. So we're just kind of making sense of the journey here. The actual battle with the dragon is the Five of Wands, but here we see Michael holding the dragon, the slain dragon in triumph. So from that point of view, this is quite. I suppose that's how it links in with our more traditional Six of Wands. That victory card represents triumph over obstacles through use of force, confrontation, and illumination. Okay, so that's the Wands part of it coming in. Confronting our inner demons with bravery and either conquering them or harnessing them or releasing them like the lightning from the tower. The coming together of opposites. So that's the symbolism in the Six of Wands. You guys may well notice different stuff. We've got the army of angels up behind Michael. We've also got the glyph of Michael on his forehead, and all four of the angels and the sixes have a glyph of their name. Um, somewhere on their body. And I think it's we talked a wee bit about this on Sunday. I think it's done by tracing their name over the rosy cross. Um, so yeah, stick your comments in the comments box if you see anything else in this, or any questions, anything for us to chat about, and I'll read out your comments as they come up. So pulling everything together, all of the symbolism, we've got battle with and triumph over enemies, demons, both internal and external demons, union of opposites, release of negativity, a difficult task overcome, a leader, confrontation, force, and illumination. So the leader comes from obviously Michael being the commander of the army, and then we see the army of angels behind them at the back here. Um, in a reading, so I'd say that this is the most comparable to this myth weight counterpart, maybe this and the Six of Swords. We see Michael victorious over the dragon, and the querent will be in a similar position of triumph. The dragon that the querent is slain could be external, could be a person or an obstacle or a circumstance that's been previously holding them back, and they're not letting it hold them back anymore. But it could be something internal. It could be that that inner voice that tells you you're not good enough, or some sort of darkness within themselves that's holding them back, and they've now come to a point where they're no longer going to let it do so. So the querent may be leading or guiding others to achieve this goal. And we need to bear in mind that although we kind of get this quite strong imagery of the slain dragon, and of it lying dead in Michael's arms, the task might not be to destroy the dragon. Depending on what it is that we're trying to overcome, it might be to accept it, to embrace it, to harness it. Use it as your superpower. You know, Particularly if it's something that's internal. So I suppose it's that idea of kind of using something that initially looks like an obstacle. You can turn that into like a stepping stone, or something that you can push off of to push you further than you could have before. So that's the Six of Wands. Our Six of Swords, we've got the Archangel Raphael, and we see the Raphael's glyph on his chest, kind of over his heart chakra here. So Raphael means healer or physician of God, and he's the patron saint of those that are in the medical field. Now, we hear about Raphael a lot in the Book of Tobit. He basically accompanies Tobit's son, Tobias, on this journey, and he protects and guides him and banishes the demon Asmodeus from Ecbatana, which is where. So I think Tobias is going there to obtain money from a relative. So when they return, Tobit cures Raphael of his blindness. So we get this idea of going on a journey, of which we often associate with the Six of Swords, the kind of the guidance and the healing that's associated with it. Deanne says, I like the specific bit about two oppositional sides coming together. Yeah, uh, yes, like you're just saying now, embrace, harness, etc. Yeah. Brian asks, you may have mentioned this on a previous slide, still wrapping up work. Are there six? Oh yeah, that's right. We talked about that on the in the uh, at the Zoom on Sunday. So both of Michael's hands are doing something unusual. So if you count the fingers, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this looks like an index finger. So this is 5, and then we appear to have the thumb behind it, which is 6. So there's 6 fingers on his left hand, and then there's at least 6 on his right hand, but it's doing something bizarre here. You look at how it's kind of a round the dragon. So are there 6 fingers on the hand that's holding the spear? It looks like 5 fingers plus a thumb behind the shaft. So yeah, that was something that we picked up on. I had never noticed it before, but it's kind of hard to unsee now. Um, so yeah, good, well spotted. So in the image, we see Raphael helping two children, possibly representing the anima and the animus. So here we're talking a wee bit more internal than external, and an animal representing the animal self or the base self. So Raphael would represent the higher self. So we'll basically get all of the kind of a different aspects of the self coming together, and the higher self is guiding the anima, the animus, and the lower self, almost just to kind of a in unison. Um, Raphael here is the higher self, and the image represents overcoming challenges, banishing darkness and ignorance through active healing and guidance. We talked a bit about on Sunday about how if you look at the kids, it's almost as though they're not aware of Raphael being there. Only the dog seems to be able to see him. We've got the rod of Asclepius. So in the book, Marie White talks about Hermes. She talks about this being the caduceus. But there's only one snake, so to me it looks more like the rod of Asclepius. But if we see it as the caduceus, then the caduceus is a symbol of the different aspects of the soul coming together and working together as one perfect soul, which is kind of what we're seeing in the greater image. Asclepius, the rod of Asclepius represents the medical field. It represents healers. That's what we see on ambulances. Um, so that's kind of a perfect because Asclepius was the Greek god of healers. Um, and Asclepius was he was the son of Apollo. And it was actually Apollo that gave the caduceus to Hermes in exchange for the lyre. And that's why the caduceus is often used as a symbol of commerce, of exchange, business. Okay, so pulling everything together, we've got healing and medicine, guidance, direction, a journey, helping other people or accepting help, working with children or animals, teaching, working on yourself, psychological and emotional healing, and professional assistance. And in a reading, this card could indicate that your querent is going through something, perhaps something they can't handle alone, something that they need to seek help from someone else on, perhaps someone with experience of what they're going through, or maybe it's like professional help that they need. We usually look at this as a mental or psychological healing card because of the association with the swords, but a lot of imagery in this, like we've got Raphael, we've got Asclepius's rod. These are representative of all types of healers, so physical medicine as well, orthopedics, general practice, emergency medicine, all that kind of a thing, everything. So that all kind of gets encompassed in this card. Maybe the querent finds themselves in the actual position of Raphael here, and they're the one offering the guidance or the healing to those with less experience of the issues that they're facing. This could also be an entirely internal process. So, like Marie outlines in the book about the different aspects of the self, it could be that the querent is in both roles. So they're going through something, and it's something that they need to work out for themselves. They need to help themselves through. Like other Six of Swords cards, this could indicate a literal journey. So we can very much easily see this as an actual journey that's been undergone. Okay. Okay, dokes. So we're halfway through the slides. Just having a wee drink. Um, I've got a coffee, by the way. Is anyone else drinking anything tonight? Anything exciting? In the next card, and like I say, any comments, questions, or anything to add, please just pop it in the chat. The next card that we have is the Six of Cups, and here we have the Archangel Uriel. Uriel means the light of God, and Uriel is the patron saint of the arts, and of artists. So the process that artists go through is they are taking something from the unconscious or their subconscious or maybe you might say they're taking it from some sort of collective unconscious, and they make it real. Okay, so this might be in the form of a score of music. It might be, a painting, a sculpture, some form of art. Um, but they're taking something from their imagination and they're making it, they're creating something physical from it. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, of Uriel rising up out of the water. Um, so Uriel's rising up out of the subterranean waters, which, when we talked about it in the High Priestess card, that was representative of the unconscious and emerges into the world. This can be seen as like a metaphor for human evolution, where we evolved from sea creatures way back at the beginning, and we've obviously evolved into land animals, but also it can be seen as like gestation in the womb and birth coming out of the womb and all that kind of a thing. Diane had a fancy coffee a while ago, which was hazelnut, vanilla, and marshmallow. That sounds beautiful. And now just working on water. Very nice. And Brian, just sparkling water for now. Lovely. I can't drink sparkling water on its own, but I do like it with like a wee bit of diluting juice, like squash, or what do you guys call that? I'm not sure what you guys call it. But it's like the concentrated stuff that you dissolve in water and gives you like orange juice or apple and blackcurrant juice. We have the crayfish clause. Um, so this is likened to the crayfish and the traditional moon card, which rises from the depths. I'm struggling with that word there, apparently. Rises from the depths of the body of water in the moon card. Um, and we also have the aurora borealis, which is, you know, well, this card Uriel is associated with the north direction, and the aurora borealis is the northern lights. So it's just another nod to Uriel as the light of God. Now, I'm going to add to that. No, I don't have it in front of me, but Justin had sent me a bit of information on Uriel because he was the archangel of the four that I'd heard of the least. Um, and basically, it's Uriel is kind of the angel of salvation. So people pray to him when they've been going through like a disappointment or some sort of difficulty. And it kind of harmonizes that. So that fits in nicely with how we tend to see the Six of Cups as that kind of a that card of emotional harmony. Um, Diane says like frozen juice concentrate maybe. It's not frozen though, it's liquid. But yeah, it is juice concentrate though. Kristen's going to have to go. Need to start on dinner. Bye everyone. See you later, Kristen. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay. So all the symbolism together: enlightening, rising, evolving, transformation, bringing something from the unconscious into reality. And there's also this idea of only seeing part of the situation. Okay, the tip of the iceberg, that kind of a thing. Uh, in a reading, so this is one that I actually struggle. This and the next one, the Six of Discs, I struggle to kind of liken them to the more traditional images and interpretations. I think these are kind of do their own thing. And by the way, Uriel's glyph is here, kind of between his solar plexus and sacral chakra. Um, this might speak of a situation that the querent is going through where they're only seeing a small part of the situation. Potentially does not well represent the entirety. So think about, what we see above the water here, the lobster claws, and it's completely different to what's beneath the surface. I've given an example here. So if you think about the first time that you ever saw the tarot or perceived it, you saw it maybe the first time you picked up a deck and tried to read with it, and think about how the relationship that you had with it at that point, what your thoughts were. Think about how that's changed over time. And I don't know if any of you do this, but I certainly do. I look back to when I first started kind of reading with the cards, and it's kind of a funny to think how that's changed over time, how my knowledge, I suppose, is deepened, and how you think that you know something then and you understand something, but then you realize that you've barely scratched beneath the surface. With Uriel being the light of God, the card could be indicating that the querent is deepening their awareness and perception of the situation that's described above. Okay, so there might be a situation where it's the what you see with the naked eye is quite deceptive, but this could indicate that the querent's starting to scratch beneath that stuff surface, and they're starting to kind of understand more about the situation at large. This card could be a card about art or some form of artistic process for the querent, some kind of process that involves going deep within themselves, tapping in to create something new. Okay. We could look at this in a different way where the querent is in Uriel's position and they need to transform. Uriel's mid transformation here. So maybe the basically what this is saying is that the querent needs to change, something needs to give, something needs to change in order for them to progress into this next stage. Brian says, it reminds me of the traditional id, ego, and superego diagram using an iceberg. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, Marie White does talk about icebergs, so maybe that was the kind of idea she was going with. I'm not sure. Uh, okay, so apparently that was us done. Yeah, yeah, okay. So that's the Six of Cups. And then finally we have the Six of Discs, um, which is the Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel means the strength of God. He's the patron saint of communications, and was God's most exalted messenger. So it was Gabriel that told Mary that she would give birth to Jesus. So he basically acted as the herald of God's manifestation on earth. And I highlight those two words because those are two quite important words for this Six of Discs, especially manifestation. He gave Mary a sprig of white lilies, which are a symbol of innocence and purity, but at the same time of sexuality and maturity. So we have the kind of the whiteness of the lily, which is the innocence part, but then the kind of flagrantly displayed stamen and stigma, um, which are the kind of a more mature kind of a sex part of it, and that's how we tend to interpret the lily in Lenormand. Um, Gabriel blows the trumpet, which heralds the last judgment and calls the dead back to life. So you're manifesting the dead back into the living world. He gave the Quran to Muhammad, so manifested the Quran, the Book of Wisdom, and is depicted here as the merging of male and female energies. So it's got quite a kind of a female presenting upper body, but with the lower body, the kind of a phallic lower body of a serpent. Um, this coming together of male and female, along with the kind of if we look at the face, we have this kind of a yin yang feel. Um, and the energy being released from the lamp as well, the idea of rubbing the lamp, um, they're all symbols of creation and of manifestation. But again, it's this kind of a coming together of opposites. And the Gabriel's glyph, by the way, is on his throat, probably because he's the messenger. Uh, Tiferet, I'm talking about this here because it's the sixth sphere on the tree of life, so it links to the sixes, and I think it's quite important to understanding why the angels have been chosen for the sixes. But it's also kind of relevant to this idea of manifestation. I think I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, sorry. So it means beauty and harmony, which links nicely with the six, and it's associated with the sun. Now, from where we exist on Malkut, which is the 10th sphere, the very bottom one, uh, Tiferet is the highest emanation that we can perceive. So it's almost the greatest thing that we can see, that we can perceive. It's how we understand God, and how we see Him. So that's maybe why we're seeing the archangels here, because it's said, many times over that we can't possibly understand or contemplate or take in the brilliance of the whole of God. Um, so the way we see him is through his archangels, or if you don't believe in kind of a God and the archangels, then it could be think about what they represent. Um, the healing and the triumph of good over evil, or just that kind of a bravery in battle against evil. Um, the art, all of that kind of stuff. All kind of a ways that we might perceive divinity. Um, so Tiferet is at the very center of the tree of life, and it's the only sphere that connects to all others, except Malkut, because that only connects to the ninth one. So it's at the center, and it's that center where conversion takes place. Um, oh, there's Marie, and she confirms, yeah, it's 6 fingers. I've got a feeling, Marie, that you might be back at the start, but I'm not sure. But anyway, uh, so Tiferet is where form is converted into, or force is converted into matter, um, or energy into matter. It's that kind of a midpoint where we see that conversion happen. So again, it's this idea of manifestation, which is why it kind of links in with this card. In between physical and spiritual. And then we see fires represented a few times here. So we have the fire coming out of the lamp, we have the fire and Gabriel's hair, and then the fire on the tree behind, which is the tree of life. Now, fire to me here would represent life. That creation, that life, that new life, if you will. The new thing that's been manifested from the lamp or the life on the tree of life. Um, so putting everything together, we've got opposites coming together in harmony, giving rise to physical manifestation. Okay, so it's very kind of you can really see the traditional lovers in this card. You see the male and female come together. You see the Garden of Eden in the background. We've got messages and messenger because of Gabriel. We've got that perfect match, that harmony, collaboration, sex, physical results, and consequences produced that cannot be undone. So think about, trying to put the genie back in the lamp, that kind of going down that line of thinking. In a reading of the sixes, this is probably one of the most visually relatable to its major counterpart, the lovers. We have coming together of opposites to create something new and the backdrop of the Garden of Eden. The querent is achieving balance within themselves or coming together in harmony with someone or something else. This harmony could be giving rise to something new, some sort of new creation or manifestation or some gift. The energy that's being manifested here might be of a kind that cannot be undone. So this could be telling the querent to tread carefully and be mindful of the consequences. And then finally, I've actually got an interesting observation. So, excuse me, I think that in this card, I was thinking about this because especially when I was talking about the idea of manifesting, physical manifestation, to me that's very, very kind of a three of discs. Um, and I was like, am I getting this mixed up with the three? And I can't remember where I ended up on that, but I went down a different tangent then. I was like, you can actually see all of the threes in this card. So, weird observation, we can see all of the threes in this card. So the two trees behind them, the three of wands, the coming together of the two trees. If you think about the three of wands in this deck, it's the two trees crossing, and then we get that kind of a serpentine, Kundalini energy that's coming about. Um, Gabriel himself is the messenger, with the white wings of the dove, and the three of swords. I think there's actually reference to in the book to the white petals of the lily representing the dove as well. The three lilies is like three waterfalls to me, or like the three of cups, because in the three of cups we get that really cyclic idea. The water coming down and then the energy growing back up with the tree. You really get that circle of life kind of a feel, and you see that in any kind of any kind of a plant life or flora or anything like that is a real strong symbol of that circle of life, because the nutrients, the plant grows up, the nutrients are taken up, and then it dies and falls to the ground and becomes compost and starts all over again. It fertilizes new growth. And then we have the manifestation out of the lamp, which is like the child and the three of discs. So you see all of it's odd. You see all of the threes in this card, I think. So I've said, could this have made a nice Empress card? I do know that visually it looks more like the Lovers, but just just an idea. But yeah, okay. So that's us for the slides. I'm going to stop sharing screen now. Yay. So Marie, it's lovely to see you here again. I'm wondering if the six fingers was that because it's the sixes? Was it like deliberate? Um, or is it like, are the archangels known for having like multiple digits like that? Because it's funny, it made me think of, I've been reading listening to the audio books, but like Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal, this Hannibal Lecter kind of a books. And did you know that Hannibal Lecter in the books had six fingers on one of his hands? He basically had a perfect replica of his middle finger. So he basically had two middle fingers on one of his hands. Can't remember which hand it is actually, which is quite annoying. Might have been his left. But yeah, he had that, and it talks about it in Silence of the Lambs, so it does. Uh, but I kind of put that in mind, so it did when someone pointed it out in the Zoom group that there's that sixth finger. But yeah, that was really interesting. So we've got quite a quiet group today. I'm not sure how we're going to get on with getting questions from the crowd, since there's only four of us. Oh, I can see Marie's. There we go. It was because of six, but also because when I painted this, um, so I didn't know about that. Silence of the Lambs, didn't know about that. We'll have to look it up when I get home. Um, when I painted this, I was discussing a painting by William Blake. Um, oh, sorry, driving, right? You concentrate on your driving. We don't want you getting hurt because we're putting you off. Um, Diane says yeah on his left. Yeah, I thought it was quite cool because it's not something that they've brought into the films, which is understandable because they just looked weird. Like actually, like back in the 80s, trying to um, give Anthony Hopkins a different another finger. Um, but yeah, okay. Does anyone want to put a question to the card? So ideally, something that's keeping up with the themes that we've been talking about. It's we can liken it to one of the sixes, but it doesn't have to be. It's just to get a wee bit of practice reading with the deck. So if anyone has a question that we can read for them, please pop it in the chat, and we can have a look at reading the cards. So Marie says the 6 was a nod to the base 12 number system, which gave us 12 hours, 12 months, etc. Yeah, um, yeah. So who was it that was talking about that really recently? It may actually well have been a TikTok that I was watching, but it was talking about how we should. It would be a lot easier if we worked in base 12 rather than base 10. Um, just because it's a much more divisible number. But yeah, I think that was on TikTok. I saw that. Right, am I going to have to kick off the questions? Okay, what can I ask that's in keeping with the sexes? Oh, Deanne's coming to my rescue here because I was struggling. Um, so, question. As you know, I've been going through a process that involves opposing sides. Some progress has been made, and now I'm wondering about next steps, how to continue integrating the two sides. So, if we're looking at integration of the two sides, have you got a particular 6 card that you were thinking that this might relate to, Deanne? Um, maybe the 6 of Swords, because it's like almost like the coming together type thing, the guidance, the journey that you're on. But then the 6 of Wands, because obviously it is that kind of process. It could really be any of them, couldn't it? I'm tempted to say 6 of Wands actually, Deanne, because I did a reading with these very cards for you, and the 6 of Wands was the first card that came out. So what are you thinking? Why don't we do Wands and Swords? Why don't we just cheat? Since there's only like 5 of us here, why don't we do both? Whoops, the Wands and the Swords, and we'll pull 6 cards for it, shall we? Trust you with the Wands. Marie's adding some interesting comments. So really interesting. I had run across something of the origins of the archangels in the ancient Middle East, where they used to use the base 6. That's pretty cool. Um, I've been really interested in uh, opposing sides lately also. Okay. Okay, Deanne, let's have a wee look at this for you then. So let me just look at your question again. So, oops. So wondering about next steps and how to continue integrating the two sides. Okay, I think what we do is we do the 6 of Swords first, and that's going to tell us about oh, I nearly pulled the Ace of Swords by accident. So you can let me know if I go by it. That's there. Okay, and Wands 2. So this is Michael I'm looking for. What there is that. Right, okay. So we've got the Ten of Cups, the Six of Swords, and the Hanged Man. Judas there and the Hanged Man. I'm going to move this and maybe zoom out the thingy just a smidge. Is that where was it? Right, that's a wee bit better. We can see all the cards at least. Do you know, I asked a question on Sunday, Deanne, with the Six of Swords, and I got that, but in the other, and that at that side, I can't remember what I got here, but it was like red as well. Okay, Ten of Swords, Six of Wands, and the Five of Cups. That's quite interesting, isn't it? We've got the two tens, obviously the two sixes, but then we've got quite like kind of a watery, flowy cards for the third cards there. Um, yeah, your unicorn's back. That's right, that came up for you, didn't it? So we're looking at what are the next steps and how do we continue to integrate both sides? Okay, so let's see here. I think, see if you look at what's happening here. Um, so this, I mean, I'm going to call this parent and child, okay? So this parent is very much focused on their child, all right? There's lots of other things happening around about, they're obviously in quite a fast-paced environment, being on a horse. There's the old friend, the snake is back, that serpentine energy that's in the background, although do you see it? It seems to be almost quite rigid. It's not quite as flowing as we usually see it being. And this cup is being poured out behind them. It's almost like they're not interested in anything that's going on around about them. They're very much focused on the child that's in their arms. Okay. And we see that theme continuing here in the Six of Swords. It's Raphael is very much concerned with the children and the dog, the animal, but it's of um I don't like to use the term lesser beings when I'm talking about adults and children. I don't mean it like they're lesser literally, but it's like maybe more vulnerable people or you know people who are dependent on us, that kind of a thing. It's almost like concentrating on them, concentrating on guiding them, on helping them, on being there for them and doing what we need to do for them. So I think that though that's something that's something that I'm assuming you can kind of a message that you can take from that, Deanne. Um, and the Hanged Man is interesting as well. Um, so the Hanged Man, I think when we looked at the Hanged Man, we can see this as we can see it as Judas, hung upside down. Um, you've got oh, I'm forgetting what the symbolism is, but it's nah, it's gone. Let me see what you're saying actually. Trust with the ones. Um, Hangman is one of my three cards for this week that you drew for me. And my unicorn is back. Yeah, absolutely. I follow that. Um, the Hanged Man suggests to me a wee bit of a change in pace, um, a change in focus almost uh, in this endeavour so far, in this battle. Um, the focus and the concentration is maybe being on something particular, but there seems to be the spotlight seems to move a wee bit here, um, and it seems to move over to something that we've maybe not quite an angle that we've not looked at it from before. But you do really see that shift, you know. Both of these are kind of concentrating on these children, and the hangman just suggests that you're looking at it from a different point of view, you know, taking that different perspective. It's almost like taking a bit of a sacred pause, um, and finding the way forward, not necessarily through charging forward like Michael does, but just it's almost a kind of a gentler, it's a more passive progression. It's almost like, you know, in order to see the way forward, you actually need to stop and look, you know. Um, you said, yeah, the coming week will be a new schedule change taking place, and it's a bit of progress. And today we gained another person on our side, right? Okay, okay, that's pretty cool. Um, so sorry, again, I'm just going to make sure I'm keeping focused on the question: how to continue integrating the two sides. So I mean, you could see a bit of that in this, and that is, um, and I suppose continuing here with with Michael, kind of a bringing the you know the masculine energy of the spear and the I suppose the more feminine and ionic energy of the dragon, or the light and the dark, bringing them together. Um, the Ten of Swords, we've got that kind of a for me the Ten of Swords is all about the there's been some really shit times, and we see that demonstrated in the Five of Cups, the Unicorn, Chiron, um, you know, the wounded healer. We see the difficulty and the pain that it's creating. Um, the the 10 is almost like it's challenging you to take that pain, learn from it, you know, but use it to push you on and make you stronger almost. Um, and it's almost like kind of a keep making sure that you keep looking forwards. Um, so yeah, what else have we got? Justin's popping in to say hi. Been lurking. It's lovely to see you, Justin. How you doing? I was talking about you at the start. So yeah, did we really answer your questions there, Deanne? I feel as though that was just a bit of a bit of chat we had. But what do we need to focus on, and how can we continue to integrate both sides together? You said, okay, that's perfect. Thanks very much. Well, you're welcome. But I feel as though there's more that this wants to tell us. I'm just not really sure. But there's definitely you definitely feel that. I mean, even if you look at the columns, like you've got that kind of a 10 energy, that kind of a on the cusp of a new part, a new phase, a new cycle almost. Um, the six is almost like kind of a finding your harmony, you know, finding your force, like with Michael and I suppose with Raphael as well. And then that's when it kind of watery energy of the Hanged Man and the Five of Cups coming in at the end there. You did answer it. I see it as the energy to take forward with me. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad that it made sense for you. And I think maybe we'll probably both end. In fact, what I might do is do a wee screenshot, Dan, and that way we can continue to think about this one. Okay. Does anyone else have a wee question for us? A question that, like I say, Ideally, we want it to fit in with the themes that we've been discussing, but it doesn't necessarily have to. I'm sure we'll be able to make it fit, but even if we can't, I'm happy to just pull some cards. Or it might be that we don't have any questions left, which is fine. I know there's not a lot of us here today. I think maybe because it's like we're coming up to the 4th of July. A lot of people will be busy this weekend. Let's see if I can come up with a question. Try to think of one that fits in with Uriel. I suppose actually. So in my work, I'm currently on. I suppose you could call it like a secondment. Like I'm basically just covering. I'm in my same department, doing more or less my same job, but I was in a different team covering someone who was off on paternity leave, and they are coming back in a couple of weeks. So it was 7 months they were off. Um, so right now it's anyone's guess as to what's going to happen with me once he comes back. Um, and it's that kind of a thing. I can make suppositions and stuff, but really it's like, the stuff that the conversations that go on about it in my head are totally different to the conversations that I know management will be having. So it's that kind of a only seeing the tip of the iceberg thing in Uriel. And what I'm wondering is if Uriel's got any kind of if he can enlighten me at all on what to expect in the upcoming, I suppose, month or so. Oops. Okay. Okay, yeah, let's see what we've got for us. Oh, there we go. So we've got the Two of Swords, the Six of Cups, and the King of Wands. Okay. The Two of Swords would suggest to me that as yet there hasn't actually been a decision made. Um, it's still kind of up in the air and not really decided what's happening. Because you've got that kind of idea of the cross swords, so there's not quite the way forward yet. Um, the idea of the locusts, how easily thoughts can become like a plague, um, and can become destructive. That's maybe a bit of a warning to me, like just chill out with it. Don't think too much on it, because there's not really anything right now that you can do that's going to affect it. Uh, so just kind of almost don't overthink it. Try not to lose too much energy or lose too much sleep, just pondering over it. Um, but primarily, this might be saying that the decision isn't made yet. It's quite interesting, actually. See when we look at these, how the colours, we've got it's almost like it's reversed. Um, you know, like I say, that situation does seem to reverse itself. So a decision is going to be made, and I mean, I think this is quite a beautiful card, and the the kind of the emotional harmony that the Six of Cups represents for me is quite a nice thing. So it suggests that maybe I'm going to be quite happy with the decision that's made. King of Wands is maybe suggesting, well, I'm not going to get any kind of promotion out of it, but just kind of in a more, I don't know, maybe just I'm going to be put in a position where I can maybe display my talents and abilities a bit better. Or they're going to be more easily seen, I guess, which makes sense for just kind of stuff that's going on right now anyway. I would expect to be more kind of I'm kind of working on building my profile and stuff like that. So it, it would make sense that that's the direction that I'm going in. But pertaining to this specific question, it's good to know that whatever happens, it's kind of ascending that in the right direction, if that makes sense. Um, so that was just a wee random reading for myself. Thank you. So I don't see any more comments or particularly any more questions from anyone in the chat. So I hope that you enjoyed this. What we might do, I might just do a wee random pool for maybe for the weekend for all three of us that are here. Um, See if I can get a message for the weekend. See what we say, uh, and then we can call it an evening. I know we've only been on for an hour, but I don't really want to kind of um, if it's coming to a natural stopping point and we're done for the evening, then I'd rather just let you go and enjoy the rest of your night. Um, but let's do that. Let's pull a card for the weekend. Oh, look at that. We have the world. The world. So everything is right where it's meant to be. It has the potential to be an absolutely amazing weekend. Um, the world is the landscape of the abyss. It is it's the setting where the fool's journey takes place. Um, so often we go through life and it's all about getting to the weekend or getting past those exams that we're studying for, or getting past that job interview. We're always kind of looking forward and looking to the big judgment days. Um, but truly life isn't in those kind of it's not about living for those particular um pinpoints in life. It's about the experience, you know. And that's in the Marielle. This is how I interpret it. The world that we normally associate is the perfect card, the best card in the pack. It represents the ultimate bliss. It's the culmination of everything, and it's everything you could ever have dreamed of. It's like the fool becomes the enlightened one. It's that kind of a thing. That's not at the end of the journey of the majors. It is the journey of the majors. We can see different majors in this. You might see the gold of the lion and the hare. We can see the moon and the stars and the suns. um there's all sorts that we see in this card that reflects the fool's journey through the majors. um so enjoy each moment of this weekend as it comes. Okay, try not to focus too much on, oh, I can't wait for this to happen, or I can't wait to get there. Because we wish away our lives when we do that. And that's for me. I'm one to talk because I always look forward to my weekends. You all know it because every Thursday I come on here and I'm like glad it's Thursday. It's my weekend. But because of that, my weekends go in really quickly. So that's something that I'm trying to kind of work on myself. It's kind of a living in the moment and appreciating each moment as it happens, kind of a thing. And I think that's really what this world card says very loud and clear. So have an amazing weekend. It has all the makings of a great weekend, but it will only be as good as we make it. Because if we look, and I'll leave it at this, you know, the world is. If we look at her, she's vulnerable. She's almost really kind of a malnourished and bare, and that's a reflection of that's maybe a reflection of how we treat our own planet, how we are treating the world right now. You know, um, so the weekend will be as great as we make it, as long as we live in the moment and we make that effort with ourselves. Okay, and that is where I'll leave you, lovely people. Um, let's see. So the answer is that's the quote on my tarot planner this year, as you know. Um, Very enjoyable, Chris. Work just wouldn't quit. I'll be watching the playbacks and joining for more in the future. Thank you. You're very welcome, Brian. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to Deanne. Thanks to Justin and Kristen. Marie, a massive thank you to you. It really means a lot that when you do pop into these, it's always lovely to see you. Not just because it means we can, annoy you and pick your brain about, why does that look like that and why did you choose that? But it's also just really nice to interact with you and speak to you and stuff. So thanks again for popping in. Um, have an amazing weekend, everyone, and I'll hopefully speak to you all soon. Bye bye.